This is episode 39 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Victor Bell. Victor, it's great to meet you. I'm going to give them a little info, but I wanted to say hi first before we do that.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So Victor is a best-selling author, real estate trainer, top speaker on leadership, real estate investing, entrepreneurship, marketing, and finance. As you can tell, he's been very busy. He's been investing since the mid-90s in multifamily real estate. He runs Bell Capital, which acquires and manages real estate properties, focusing on near-term, generational wealth, long-term value creation. You've been at this a while, more than 20 years, right, Victor?
I have. It's crazy. I was talking to someone the other day and they were like, wow, you started when I was born.
Yeah. Well, I guess as we get older, we say this. I tell people like I've been doing this 30 plus years and they're like, really? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on the money part because of the two things that you've learned over the years. You also mentioned you would have raised more money. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, like it's kind of hard to ask people for money. How did you get over that? Was it an amount of deals or kind of like a comfortability and confidence with real estate investing?
You know, I think it was a lot easier for me to ask for money in the beginning. You know, I always tell people, you know, when you're too stupid to know better, you know, it's good.
You just ask everybody.
Yeah, it's like no one's off limits, right? In grocery store people.
Yeah.
And the more, you know, especially now with information being so free, it's like, hey, you can't do this. You can't talk to this guy. You can't do that. You know, it kind of becomes shell shocked. And I notice when I talk to people, because myself included, like, you know, if we have a tiger by the tail, the hesitation goes away. So yeah. Had I just stuck to, I should have had thousands of partners, not just a handful of partners over the lifespan of my career. I would have spent more time making capital relationships than kind of running around and bragging about how good of an operator I am. Because technically when you go to the bank, no one cares.
Yeah. Right. They really don't care about your social media following at that point.
Not at all. So, you know, so I probably would have done that a lot better. I would have actually, because when and I'm sure, you know, hindsight 2020, when we look back on who's built an actual, you know, a long-standing career in their, you know, you look at guys, Steve Schwarzman from Blackstone, Larry Fink, you know, Barry Stern, like they spent time building the relationship on the capital side and then doing it the other way. But, you know, when I started, I needed to make money. So I started as a, you know, I tell people there's the two ways to do real estate. You either make money or invest money, right? So I started off in the make money side, which is great. But had I started off and kind of balanced those two pieces out to let's get used to getting people to invest capital with those deals. You know, so, but that takes time. So that's a big lesson for me because now I'm almost 50 and I'm circling back and go, oh, I should have been focused on this a lot more.
And I think about that. It's good to note for investors of all, like I'm 52 and my dad taught me how to do this from 5 years old on, but I still go through like lulls of what I'm like right now. I'm not holding a lot because I just didn't want to. I sold a lot during the pandemic. And right. I think I routinely go back through my strategy. For you now with the, you know, with Bell Capital, are you always readdressing kind of what the market looks like? Obviously the market's different now than it was 2 years ago. And I guess it's a little bit different how you deploy your own personal money and how you deploy money for a fund, right? Maybe you can go into that a little bit because I think that's important in this economic climate.
Yeah, you know, everyone, you know, and that's one of the bigger questions I get because, you know, we have about 10 mil circled or so right now, you know, and everyone's like, oh, why don't you just, you know, pull that together and grab something? I'm like, dude, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine if it was my capital sitting off to the side. I'll deploy and take those levels of risk.
Yeah.
When you're taking care of other people's capital, their retirement money, all that stuff, man, it's different. It is very different. So, you know, you look, well, I wouldn't take any less risk with my own money. I treat it all the same, right? Because I don't want to lose capital. I want to lose money. But to your point, it's different. You know, when you're talking to somebody and you go, hey, here's the deal we're going after. Here's why. Like you have to be very clear on that for yourself and for them, you know?
Yeah. Risk is a great word though, because I think like for our own personal investments, I'm open to like modified risk that I'm well aware of, but that may not be something I want to put out to people who are giving me money because it's kind of like I'm betting on myself, but I don't want them all to bet on me. You know, when it comes to syndications, they want to bet on the data that you're bringing them and what it really looks like that you can prove, you know, in a deck looks like the return will be.
Right. And then on top of that, I tell people, I'm like, be mindful. You have a lot of spreadsheet junkies, nothing wrong with them out there who's never turned a deal. Like, I'm sure like you have been in the business forever. I've worn every hat, even hats I didn't want to wear. Cause I've done enough deals to get hammered to have to take that hammer away from someone and put that hat on and go, okay, now I got to oversee you guys doing something. And I need to know what that looks like.
Yeah.
It really does matter. So I can't stress that enough.
I feel like people are, because they're trying to get a quick buck, they're a little bit uncomfortable with transparency. And that's basically the problem with wholesaling. It's like, if you're just transparent and you say, listen, I'm going to buy this from you for 100, I'm going to sell it for 120 because I have all the contacts. I'm going to keep that 20 because I'm going to bring it to you and make it easier for you. Then everybody's like, okay, well, I only wanted the 100. So if you make more, like, good for you. But if you don't know that, and then you see that they made 20, you feel like that you got hoodwinked. Yeah. And I mean, that's the problem. Like, transparency seems so easy. Like, just with inspection reports, like if you're going to wholesale, I'd much rather do an inspection if I had it, provide the inspection, and then let someone have like full objectivity and to look at it and say, like, this, I think that's a little bit of the difference. This now because you work in large scale commercial, like commercial real estate on the large scale, big apartments, the due diligence is insane. Like, like everything, you have reports on everything and nobody's rushing you to get through it. But like in tiny residential, they're like, I don't know what that is. And you're like, there's literally, it's obviously an oil tank. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that was that. It's such a crazy thing. Have you found that the more units you have, the better the due diligence is overall in terms of what you are able to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for one, you're dealing with people who are a lot more sophisticated. Even in Hawaii is an interesting bird because you have a lot of people who've owned properties for a while, but they're not sophisticated, but they have a sophisticated asset. And like that, you have to be both, if that makes sense. So to your point, yes, you got to be extremely diligent. I also learned how to be transparent in a way that is professional in a non-professional environment, if that's a way. Because, to your point, everyone's like, all right, here's what I got. Tell me what you think. And you're standing there looking at it like, I like it, I want it. What's this, but it goes right back to the simplicity of being able to be transparent. And when you're looking at bigger stuff, they expect you to go through, they expect you to look, they expect you to ask questions. And if
it helps them.
Yeah. Well, first, if you don't do it, they know you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.